Hi, good day everyone. My name's Alex. Thank you so much for taking the time to attend our webinar today on the Poly products, specifically the Poly hybrid work products and the headsets as well as the conferencing solutions. So I'm Leaders National Trainer. I'm going to be discussing this with you guys today. And I'll start off by saying that I'm a bit of a headset fanatic. Over the last 3 years, I've probably had around 20 of them. So I'm excited to be talking about something that I feel so passionate about. And today, actually, the webinar is presented on a Poly headset as well. So as with any of the other trainings that we've done over the last couple of weeks, you guys are more than welcome to submit any feedback or requests for training through to webinars@leadersystems.com.au. We will be taking a look at that, and we'll be improving our training content and our webinar content going forward based on that feedback. Questions and answers. So we are going to have a Q&A session at the end. Questions are encouraged throughout the entire training. If you guys have something that you want me to elaborate on, please feel free to pop that through. We will be answering all of the questions at the end, and we also have a prize draw at the end as well. So do stick around for that. We actually have 3 prizes today. So we're going to jump straight into it and start taking a look at where Poly came from. I'm not going to blab on about this too much, just a very quick introduction. So Poly as a company was actually formed in about 2018 as a merger between Plantronics and Polycom, both of which had a long history in the audio and video communication space. Plantronics was actually founded back in 1961 and initially focused on developing lightweight headsets for pilots and astronauts, so very much in the aerospace section. And then Polycom, on the other hand, was established in the 1990s, and it was really a pioneer in the video conferencing space. So as of August last year, Poly was actually purchased by HP, and the naming change for Poly was also relatively recent. Previous to that, it used to be a combination of both Plantronics and Polycom. But essentially, HP is now the owning company for Poly as a brand, and just to give you some insight that they are not a new kid on the block. I mean, they've been around essentially since the 60s. So definitely very experienced and a premium brand in the audio and video conferencing space. So before we take a look at the products, we have to understand the use case and where we're at today in terms of collaboration. So I think everyone's pretty much sick of the word collaboration, but it's very important to understand what the implications are of the way we're working today. So many people tend to think that tend to think of headsets and video conferencing products as only being applicable to SMBs and the enterprise space, and specifically in the office. In actual fact, the way we communicate has become much more complex. We're seeing more and more office setups that are not an office, where it's a home, or it's a makeshift setup somewhere in a cafe, and people are taking more and more informal meetings in informal spaces. So communicating on the go is a very critical consideration, and we have to think about the devices that we can use to cater for this and the different styles of working spaces that we work through today. So after COVID, there seems to be a bit of a perception that work will go back to, and I quote on this, back to normal, where everyone goes to the office, but the stats actually show something completely different on this. So although this information is based on the US, it's very relevant to what we're seeing in Australia as well. So basically, it comes down to this. After the pandemic, remote and hybrid work arrangements have increased by 24% and 27% respectively. So let's call it 25% to round it off. That means a quarter of the same workforce now work in scattered locations. So they work from home, or they work from remote setups, or they have hybrid working scenarios. So this just shows how important it's become to have video conferencing and audio conferencing that doesn't just work in the office. It needs to work everywhere and in a variety of different conditions. Some of those conditions can be quite challenging as well. And then you'll see as well as part of the stats that the fully on-site community has actually shrunk massively, and we're seeing more and more adoption of remote work. And of course, the important thing here is to have headsets and video conferencing solutions that will actually cater for this as well. So Poly's actually been very responsive to this change in working habits and have a bunch of solutions that cater to both hybrid working arrangements and office environments. What we're seeing in SMBs is that they're more willing to empower their employees with good headsets and video calling solutions in order to have what Poly terms as meeting equality, essentially where the experience would be the same whether you're on a remote site or whether you're doing it from the office, so that you don't have someone dialing into a meeting that is potentially disruptive to the flow of that meeting because they have a bad microphone or they have a bad video experience. So one of the biggest complaints about having people work remotely is typically background noise. And I know we've all been there. Someone joins the call while they're in their car or they're in a train, and all you can hear is background noise, kids screaming, etc. I will personally commend Poly on this and say that their microphone noise blocking technology is some of the best that I've personally experienced. And I'm a bit of a headset snob. I've used every single major brand on the market, and I can honestly say that Poly really nails the microphone noise cancelling. So this webinar is presented on a Poly 5220, and what you probably can't tell right now is that there's building renovations going on about 3 meters away from me, from where I'm sitting right now as we speak. And if it was any other headset, I'm convinced you would have been able to pick that up already. I'm sure the keen-eared amongst you will now start paying attention to the background noise. But I've hosted many webinars before where they've beaten the wall behind me and no one complained. So I'm very, very pleased with the way the microphones work on these devices. So with any other headsets, we would have probably had to shift back the webinar. So I'm a fan, at the very least, of their microphone technologies. So Leaders Poly range can be summarized into one slide. I'm not going to bore you guys to death with a just data sheets on data sheets. We are going to drill down into each one of these products to just see the real benefits. So we're going to try to focus on the key points instead of just blasting everyone with data sheets and death by PowerPoint. So we'll talk about it and we'll see what the various products offer. I'm also basing this on a lot of personal experience and in terms of what I've seen deployed out in the field as well. I also have a product management background in VoIP brands and headsets as well, many competing brands. So I have a bit of insight on this as well. So let's start off with the USB range. So USB tends to be very commonplace as a preferred connection method for headsets. In fact, the one I'm using right now is connected via just regular old USB-A. So I'm going to combine the first 4 headsets into one feature over here. So the 3220, 3225, 3210, and 3215, quite a lot of headsets. These are primarily designed for, that's the 4 on the left here. So these are designed primarily for call center use or office use. And the difference between the different models here is whether they're monaural or binaural headphones, as well as the connectivity type, so either USB-A or USB-C. So some of the models have different connectivity types. It really depends on what you want to get for your device. Obviously, you can select that and you can get a very easy overview on the Leader dealer shop as well to see which one is supported on which headset. The standout feature here is that you have inline call controls, and that at this price point is significant. You typically find that competing brands will not have inline call controls. And on some of the headsets, you even have a 3.5mm headset jack option as well. In other words, you can connect it directly into your mobile phone or into your PC's microphone port or something like that, or speaker port if you want to. It's a very cost-effective price point. In call centers especially, headsets are subject to a fair amount of abuse, and that's really what these are designed for. So again, speaking about the 2 headsets on the left here, the 4 models in total. So the 5210 and the 5220, the 2 models on the right, on the other hand, are built for more office-style environments, but of course they can be used pretty much anywhere. So I've seen a question come through. I'm going to be sure to answer that directly after this. So the 5210 and 5220 really designed for office environments, but of course you can use them everywhere. I'm using the 5220 right now, as I said before, and the technology that blocks out that background noise is actually called Poly Acoustic Shield, and it really works wonders. I'll call out two other features here as well that I've personally found very beneficial on these headsets, specifically on the 5220. Firstly, it's extremely comfortable. I can wear it all day without getting hot. That's something that you would struggle with if you had a over-the-ear headset, whereas where it's on-ear, you typically don't have that problem as bad. So I wear my headset from 9 to 5 every single day, and I listen to music and I take calls, etc. on it. And I can honestly say I'm comfortable throughout the entire day. We all know that, like, typically you wear headsets, and after about 4 hours, feels like you're wearing an army helmet. Poly have really nailed how light these things are, and just again sturdiness as well as the comfort side of it. The ear pads are extremely comfortable. The other thing that I've picked up as well is how well the sound guard technology works. It's a trademark term from Poly, but specifically what that does is it takes a time-weighted average. So it measures how much noise you're exposed to over a period of time, and it will try to protect your hearing based on that. So where I pick this up the most is when I'm listening to music all day and I increase the volume for one specific song because I want to listen to that at a greater volume, and then I forget to change the volume back. Basically what this sound guard technology does is it protects my hearing by slowly bringing down the volume in order to not exceed 85 decibels. So that is important to preserve your hearing in the long term. And this is something that, like, it just does in the background. I never pick it up as it's happening. The only way I'll pick that up is I'll sometimes come back and I'll start a new song and I'll blast the volume up to max, and then I'll pick up how much louder that actually is. But it does this so unnoticeably. It's really, really cool the way it does it. And again, it saves my ears, especially I'm still young, but if I'm going to be in my 60s, I want to preserve some of my hearing, especially if I'm listening to music all day long. For my next headset, I'm planning to get the 7225 actually, which is the bigger brother of the 5220. So unlike the 5220, it does not have a boom microphone, but instead it uses the 4 microphones that are built into this headset. So it has a couple of microphones located strategically around the headset. Having a boom mic can be a bit of a disruption to a lot of people. If you're trying to do video calls, etc., it sometimes looks better if you don't have a boom mic. And if you're trying to present content, for example, it's easier to look past it. So this is one of the nice features. The one reason I'm buying this primarily, though, is for its active noise cancellation. So active noise cancellation on the headphone side just means I'm able to block out a lot of the background noise. And again, the microphones are tuned to block out mic noise, and the headset is tuned to block out environmental noise as well. So if you're lucky, that saves you from hearing the aircon all day long, or your fans, or to a lesser extent, maybe even an annoying coworker. Going on from there, so that's the USB range in a nutshell. So there are a couple of other USB models as well, and there's a couple of different varieties of those. Again, I encourage you to check out the Leader Dealer Shop. I'm not going to go into each one of the models because I'm sure we'll all get bored with the minute differences between them. But next up, we'll take a quick look at the DECT range. So before we jump into the DECT product, I just want to call out the range which you can use these devices on. So DECT is by far the best way to get connectivity across a relatively long distance. The benefit mainly here is that you're not stuck to your desk and you can actually walk around. So this is ideal for places where you might want to go to the back of a warehouse, for example, to see if you have stock, and you don't want to drop the call. So you want to maintain a call with that person. You can just walk through to the back without losing the connectivity. DECT is perfect for this. You can actually get up to about 120 meters of range on these headsets, which is pretty insane if you start thinking about it. In terms of the headsets themselves, I will talk about the 7310 and 7320 first. So obviously these are DECT enabled, and the difference between the models here again is whether you want monaural or binaural, so one headset or two. They feature most of the same technology as we've seen on the other headsets, just with the added advantage of allowing you to move around. So same as the USB variants, just with the ability to obviously roam around your environment. 7310 and 7320 are meant primarily for desk phone or PC use, while the 8220 and the 8210 are really meant for multi-device use. So it means you can hop between your desk phone, your PC, and even your mobile device on one headset, which is really critical if you're taking a lot of calls from a lot of different sources. So you can literally press a button to take a call on your mobile device, which I think is really cool as well. The standout feature on the CS540 is that what they call it's a convertible. So essentially what you can do is you can buy different headbands or neck bands that go onto this device, and you can convert it into a different style. So if you're someone that gets aggravated with having something on your head the whole time, then essentially that's ideal for that, because you can move it to a neckband style, or you can move it to another style that suits you. So just a note on that: if you want the headbands, you do have to, or the different band styles, you do have to purchase them separately. But essentially that's the main standout feature. And again, it's decked, so you can roam around with that. So on all of these models, Poly's deck density really is world class, and that's a very important thing. If you have, let's say, for example, a small call center or a contact center space, you could very easily have interference between headsets if they are on the same frequencies. So Poly's deck density is extremely competitive. It's some of the best that we've seen. And it means you can have a lot of decked headsets in the same space without causing any interference. There's two more models in the decked space that we need to take a look at. So the standout features here on the 8240 and the 8245 is just how easy and lightweight they are. You can easily carry them around all day. You can wear them all day without tiring you out as well. And again, you can walk to the warehouse, or you can walk into any space and you'll barely notice it. So both these models have excellent talk and standby times. Just the 8245 here has the ability to actually switch out the battery. So you'll see it has a little compartment on the side. You can change out the battery. That's ideal for extended use. Let's say you have multiple people using this headset and you want to go 24 hours, or it's used 24 hours, you can swap out the battery and keep going like that. Or if you're someone that works, for example, 12 hours a day and you need to have connectivity during that whole time. So it's a really good headset for that scenario. Going on to the Bluetooth range, again, I'm not going to drill down into each of the individual features. If you have any questions around an individual feature on any of the products, do let me know, and we'll try to answer them afterward as well. Going on to the Bluetooth range, I think we all understand the advantages of Bluetooth, as it's become one of the most prevalent headset types. Obviously, we have the benefit of wire-free communication, so similar to DECT, but just a note for specifically for Bluetooth, that higher density and long-range communication is not quite the same as DECT. DECT has a clear advantage in terms of range and as well as in terms of density. So just a quick side note on that. So really, these headsets work with pretty much everything that supports Bluetooth. This includes your PCs, your laptops, cell phones, tablets, etc. And for example, the Legend and the 5200 are designed for in-ear use, which means, again, it's nice and simple. You can keep this in your pocket, similar to the headbud style that everyone keeps wearing, so like the Galaxy Buds, etc., except this is just in one ear, and it has a dedicated, real, proper microphone. So that boom that extends to the front, again, that houses the microphones, and it improves the audio quality considerably. Having your headphones be completely in ear and being so far away from your mouth can be quite jarring to your audio quality, especially in terms of the microphone side of it. So these are quite handy while you're on the move, and you can quickly switch between your laptop and your cell phone, for example, to make calls or to join meetings, etc. The 5200 is also sweat and water resistant, meaning you can wear them pretty much continually as well. So both of these also feature excellent talk times of up to about 7 hours on a single charge, plus about 14 hours through their charge cases as well. The 4310 and 4320 are again meant for more office style environments, and are also just Bluetooth variants, again featuring much of the same technology that we've seen in both the DECT and USB variants as well, and that acoustic shield as well as the safeguard abilities. So moving on to the 8200 and the Focus 2, so these two models. The 8200 is ideal for people that are looking for improved noise isolation. So if you work in an extremely noisy environment, this is pretty much the model to go for. It's an over-the-ear design, which means it's better at isolating noise around you. And importantly, it does active noise cancellation as well. So I'm in two minds whether I want the 72 or whether I want the 8200, because again, this is probably better at noise isolation, but it will be slightly heavier, and it will be, because it's blocking out the noise, it will obviously enclose my ears, which means it'll be a bit more sweaty as well. But that's the nature of the headset. The 8200 again features a boomless design. You can control the volume, music, etc. On the headset itself. The battery on this thing is excellent. So it actually goes up to 24 hours of listening time. So if you're listening to music, it's about 20 hours talk time, and then the standby time as well. So that's the time if you don't use it, it's actually up to about a month. So as a side benefit to that, I think it looks fantastic. I love the wood grain accents on the side of it. I think it looks great. The Focus 2, on the other hand, is more of a high-end on-ear headset, and it also features a extremely good talk time of around 19 hours on a single charge. The benefit with the Focus 2 is that it's not over the ears, meaning it's better for all-day wearing, and again, you're not getting sweaty or hot from that. It also features active noise cancellation, which is pretty insane to have it on a on-ear headset, and it's actually certified for Teams use as well. So just obviously we've talked about the different models and different ranges, and we know the different wearing styles, etc. And it can get a bit confusing in terms of what do I pair with what. So if I have a Yearling phone, for example, and a Polycom headset, or sorry, Poly headset, what is the required QD cord between those two of those? What do I need to connect to my PC, etc.? So fear not, Poly actually have a tool for this, and I'll quickly play a little video. If it's not updating quickly, I'll quickly pause it at random intervals. So what I'm going to do here is I'm selecting the phone, and I'm selecting the brand, manufacturer, and then it essentially gives me a list of the compatible headsets as well as their QD cords, all the requirements that I have. So this tool is available from Poly. You can go onto their website and navigate this. It's directly in their homepage. And essentially you can select the model that suits your wearing style as well as the connectivity type. And based on that, you know what you need in terms of connectivity. So they've made it really simple. And again, you don't have to worry about getting confused between the different headset styles and brands, etc. So make it really, really simple. Let's quickly take a look at Poly's conferencing phones. So again, we've gone through that very quickly today through the headsets. If you want more in-depth knowledge as well, please feel free to reach out to your account manager on those units, or alternatively send it through to webinars at Leader Systems. Also happy to assist you guys on that. The conferencing side of things, the PolySync conferencing range is a series of portable speakerphones, and they're designed for use in small to medium-sized conference rooms, or more specifically home offices and on the go. So it goes against the trend of having a fixed conference phone in one place always. By simply connecting your devices with Bluetooth or USB, it means you can take calls pretty much wherever you are, and you can have multiple people attend a conference call on the go. I personally prefer these, as I've been in environments where not every single boardroom doesn't have a conference phone. So you're stuck with not being able to use that room for conference spaces. Instead, what we've done in those scenarios is we've taken 2 of these sync devices for, let's say we had 6 boardrooms, and then we'd actually just have the attendees borrow those devices as they need them. So if you think about it, the majority of a conference phone's life is spent unused because it's typically just sitting on the desk of the conference space. Whereas if you can switch it out and move it to a different area quickly and on the go, it adds a lot more value to that device as well. So obviously the larger models here feature larger speakers, which means you can have more attendees, and they also have larger microphone arrays as well. So if you have more participants, it makes it easier to pick up their voices. One thing that became very evident when everyone started working from home is that the built-in microphones and cameras on most laptops were not really up to scratch, and the quality for conference calls was really quite bad. You'd get images that were underlit or grainy or blurry or noisy, or just a combination of all of that. So by design, laptops are not great at that. It's only now that we are post-pandemic that laptops are really starting to catch up because manufacturers noted this during that time. So this is why Poly is such a big focus on their studio conferencing range as well. So we'll take a look at the various options in the studio arena. So the first of these is the Studio P5, and you'll easily recognize it as a webcam. It's much more than just a webcam. It's kind of a webcam on steroids. It does 1080p video. So again, that's something that you struggle to find in most modern laptops. Most importantly here is that it's designed to work in spaces that are low light. If you think back about the majority of the video calls that you've done over the last 2 years and someone's joined in remotely, you'll often see that the lighting isn't perfect and you struggle to see that person in that space. So the Studio P5 is excellent at that. It has very good low light compensation, and it's got an extremely good lens as well. So it's also got a built-in directional microphone, meaning you don't have to rely on your laptop's silly built-in microphone, and it's actually very good as well. It does have a 4x zoom and EPTZ functionality as well, so that helps if you're not close to or directly in front of the camera. So the one thing that I do love about this, we have a couple of people in the office using these, is that it's got the status indicator at the top, so you'll see that little green notch at the top there. I love that because it shows you when someone's busy on a call. So like right now where I'm presenting this call, this webinar, it would show that I am in a call and someone shouldn't disturb me. It can be really handy, especially if you work in a very busy office environment. The next step up from this is the Studio P15, and really this is designed to function both as a kind of like a webcam and something that works in a meeting space or a focus room. Most importantly here is that it's USB and it's designed to work with Microsoft Teams rooms as well. It's actually certified for that. So really for remote working, this is probably the ultimate solution with a very high resolution of 4K. It's got very advanced optics. It does auto framing as well. So if you move around the frame, it will actually keep you in focus the whole time. And it's perfect for conference calls. So again, if you have someone like a CEO or an executive that needs to work remotely for certain periods of time, it's very much beneficial to have this in place on that person's desk or laptop or screen, and essentially provide a high quality conferencing experience. It also features a super powerful speaker on it as well to eliminate those sorry, please say again moments. It's actually got a three beamforming microphones built into it as well. So it's practically unheard of on a device at this price point. So it's a quite awesome feature to have available. The R30 is quite similar to the R15, but it's meant more for conferencing spaces. It's got a wide 120-degree field of view, which is perfect for places where you have loads of attendees sitting close to each other and around a table. So like a huddle space or something like that. It also features a 4K resolution and 3-element beamforming microphones. And again, it's USB and certified to work with Microsoft Teams as well. And lastly, we also have the Studio P009. This will appear similar to the traditional meeting room solutions that you've seen in a lot of video conferencing deployments. Again, it's USB. It's driven by USB, and it's designed to work with Microsoft Teams as well as Google Meet, and it's designed specifically for traditional meeting spaces, so traditional meeting rooms, etc. It features the best microphones out of any of the Studio range, with a 6-element microphone array, again beamforming, really good and clear microphones that are able to reach out to attendees to pick up the voices that are far away. 4K resolution, wide field of view at 120 degrees, and again allows you to have more people in a space. Another standout feature here is that you can actually manage this device over the network through its built-in Wi-Fi. And that's pretty much it. So it's a quick blast through the Poly conference range. Like I said, we're not going to go into too much depth on any of these. I will do the Q&A in a second as well, just to show you guys what the prize is for today. So there's actually 3 of these going out. So it's a backpack, a mug, a water container, and a shirt as well. And the, sorry, not a shirt, a cap. And these are actually from Poly Red Bull Racing. And Poly is obviously a sponsor of the Red Bull Racing team as well. And these are imported directly from the Netherlands, so really high quality, and I'm looking forward to 3 of you taking these home. As with any of Leader's webinars, you must have attended in order to qualify for this as well, and it's drawn via Wheelspin, so we'll do that in a second. So before we get into that, let me quickly take a look at the questions. Some of these I will likely have to get